What's happening, guys? It's Shane here. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the countries that have the most millionaires. And the reason this is important is because if a country has a lot of millionaires, chances are that means it also has a lot of opportunity. And I noticed that quite a few of my viewers are not from the US. I only have about 60% of my viewers from the US. Some of them are using VPNs, so it's probably a little higher than that. It's probably more like 70 or 80%, but still a significant amount of my audience is not from the US. They might be from places where there's not as much opportunity. And I just want to make this video for you guys so that you can go to other countries that have a lot more opportunity. Or this might be a video for people from the US who want to travel around, want to go to other countries, or they want to maybe just learn certain languages in countries where there's a lot of opportunity. Business is getting more and more international, and having these skills, understanding languages or different cultures or different things along those lines can be extremely valuable. And I'm going to be talking about 3 different ways to measure which countries have the most millionaires because it's a little bit difficult just to look at it straight up. So I think it's really good to look at it in 3 different ways.
Yeah, there it is.
So first, I'm going to look at which countries have the most millionaires just straight up, like all things being considered, which ones have the most millionaires. And those aren't going to surprise you. They're the biggest countries generally. And then I'm also going to look at which countries have the most millionaires per capita. So it's more of like a percentage sort of thing, right? So out of 1,000 people, how many of them are going to be millionaires? And then the third way I'm going to look at it is which countries are growing the fastest, like which ones are creating the most millionaires the fastest. And this is important to look at because there are huge opportunities in the near future in these countries that are gaining a lot of millionaires. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tie it all together. I'm going to talk about my 3 best tips on how you can use this knowledge if you do decide to either move to another country, learn another language, or maybe you just, you're online, you're still in this country, but you're taking advantage of the opportunities in some of these countries. I'm going to share my 3 best tips at the very end on how you can do that. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'm going to go over this pretty quickly, just because we're going over 3 different sections. But, this is a top 10 list of the countries with the most millionaires. And starting from the top, it's going to be Brazil with about 259,000 millionaires, India with about 759,000 millionaires, Spain with about 979,000, Australia 1.18 million millionaires. That's a little bit of a mouthful. France, 2.08 millionaires. Germany, 2.19 millionaires. United Kingdom, 2.46 millionaires. Japan with about 3.03 millionaires. China with 4.45 millionaires. And then the United States just blows everybody out of the water. I think it's even more than all of the others combined with about 18.61 millionaires. That is totally insane. It is the most by far. Now, this is a really great list to look at if you're thinking about maybe learning a language, for instance. So if you're listening to this video, chances are you know English. I think that would probably make sense.
All of a sudden you speaking English now, huh? A little.
And English is a very important language to know. It's one of the best languages for international business and all that sort of thing. But let's just assume that you're, listening to this from the US, you already know English. Really good languages to learn might be Mandarin, Chinese. Another really good one to learn could potentially be Japanese. This is a really good place to get ideas on that sort of thing.
The chief says he has not understood the dialect.
And then on top of learning the language, you can also learn a lot about the culture because that goes a long way as well. Now, the second metric that we're going to analyze is basically the percentage of millionaires per country. And this one is really difficult to actually look up, to be honest with you. And the reason for that is because it's just really difficult to compare different currencies and different stats across different countries. They pay different tax rates. A millionaire might be considered something completely different in one country versus another country. So what we're doing instead was we're going to talk about the money per capita. So the average money that a person is worth per capita, right? So number 10 on the list is going to be Canada at about $163,000 per capita. Number 9 on the list is going to be Hong Kong at about $169,900 per capita. Number 8 is going to be Singapore, $177,000 per capita. Number 7 is the United States, so definitely not the highest in this one at $186,000 per capita. Number 6 is going to be Norway at about $198,000 per capita. Number 5 on the list surprised me a little bit because it's a relatively big country. It's going to be Australia with $244,000 per capita, so they're doing really well there. The next one is a very tiny European country. A lot of people probably haven't even heard of it. It's called Luxembourg, and it's about $300,000 per capita. So that's amazing. But it's such a tiny little country that it's very difficult to compare it to larger companies. It kind of skews the statistics a little bit. Number 4 on the list is going to be Switzerland with about $315,000 per capita. And, they're very well known. A lot of things known in the world about them, Swiss bank accounts, etc. They're very well known in finance. They also have really good flat income tax rate that helps their businesses out quite a bit. So I'm not surprised to see them there. The next one on the list is going to be Liechtenstein. I probably did not say that quite right, but it's basically in between Austria and Switzerland. And they have a per capita of 786,000, which is just absolutely insane. It's hard to even imagine that. Now, the next one on the list, number 1, by far the highest per capita, also one of the smallest countries. They only have about 40,000 residents. It's Monaco, okay? The per capita rate is 2.1 million. Insane. That's totally crazy. And this is actually a really well-known place that the super wealthy either, move to or they vacation at a lot. So it's not too surprising. And there's just not that many people in the country in general. So that does kind of skew the statistics a little bit, but still it's very impressive. 2.1 million. That's pretty crazy. So next on the list, we're going to go over the fastest growing countries that are already relatively high net worth countries. And we're going to start off from 10, go down to 1. And number 10 on the list is going to be the Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is already decently well off. They're not a poor country by any means, and they are growing at about 9.2%. That's pretty freaking good. Number 9 on the list is going to be the Philippines, and great country. I definitely want to visit there someday. And they are growing at about 9.4%. So their economy is doing extremely well. I see them, doing very, very well in the near future. India is going to be number 8 on the list. They are growing at about 9.7%. So again, very good. It's also a huge country. They have like 1 billion people. So it's surprising that they're growing so fast with that kind of, infrastructure that they have to keep up, but hey, more power to them. They're doing really well. Number 7 on the list is going to be Kenya, and Kenya is growing at about 9.8%. Again, a country that's an up and comer. They're doing really well right now, and they should, be experiencing a lot of opportunity in the near future. China came in at number 6 on the list. Very surprising. China came in at number 6 at 9.8% growth because they, if you remember back just a couple charts ago, they were number 2 on the list with, the most amount of millionaires, right behind the United States. So they are growing very fast. And, they keep growing like that. They'll probably catch up to the United States eventually. Number 5 on the list is going to be Poland, and they are growing at about 10% total. Again, another country that is already doing decently well, and they're continuing to do pretty well. So I see them doing really well in the future as well. Number 4 on the list is going to be Vietnam, and they're growing at about 10.1%. Very similar to some of the other Southeastern Asian countries. They have a really booming economy. I've been hearing a lot of really good things about their economy from some of my friends who like investing internationally. So not really surprised to see them there. This is another one where could be a lot of opportunity. Bangladesh comes in at number 3 on the list at about 11.4% growth rate. And hey, that's awesome. Great to see that. Another country that has quite a few people, and they're growing really fast. Egypt comes in at number 2. Egypt is absolutely killing it, guys. 12.5% growth rate. Good job for them. And then number 1 on the list with a 16.3% growth rate, far outpaces everybody else, is going to be Nigeria. A lot of opportunity in Nigeria. That country is killing it. They're creating a lot of millionaires left and right, so good for them. All right, so I just wanted to go over those 3 lists, use that information, take it for what it is. It can be used to make really good decisions in your future. But I have 3 big tips, like I said. And the first tip is going to be around language, of course. So that's going to be the biggest barrier. If you can't speak to somebody, you can't communicate with them, you're not going to be able to do business with them. So
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
one thing that I think is very important is, let's say you already just happen to know a language or 2 languages or 3 languages because, maybe you took them in high school or you just grew up in a multilingual family. That's great. You should absolutely leverage that. Maybe it doesn't involve moving to another country. Maybe it does. That'd be a great idea as well. But let's say you know Spanish, for instance. This is going to open up a lot of opportunities for you in the job world and the, professional world, moving to other countries potentially. You could maybe do some freelance work online where you're communicating in Spanish, whereas nobody else can do that. So it definitely makes you more valuable. And if you don't already know any languages, that's totally fine. You can really do your research and you can figure out which country you want to live in, which place you want to live in, and then learn the language that they speak in that country. That'll open up a lot of opportunities for you. Now, the second really big thing you want to consider is, of course, the location. And I know this is kind of obvious, but if you hate cold weather, you probably don't want to move to a Northern European country because there's a lot of cold weather up there. If you absolutely hate very humid environments, you probably don't want to move to a place that's 100 degrees and 95% humidity.
I gotta stop or go to the bathroom.
Just go, man.
It just kind of makes sense. So make sure to do your research. It's a good idea to travel around, kind of sample different places to figure out, what places you really vibe with, in terms of the culture. Is it a fast, bustly environment? Is it a more chill, laid back environment? All these sorts of things are very important. And, some people want to live more out in the country. Some people want to live in more of a developed city sort of area. These are all things you need to figure out for yourself. And really the only way to do it is to just do a lot of research and then just go out and try it yourself. And as an example of this, really good friend of mine and fellow YouTuber, Sam Favaz, I always say his name wrong, Sam Favaz, hard to say, but he has a channel here on YouTube. He's a photographer in Las Vegas. And, way back in the day, he came from Lebanon and he decided that he wanted to be a professional photographer. And in Lebanon, there's, not a lot of opportunities for professional photography. So he decided to look into different countries, different places to move to. And he ended up moving to Las Vegas, Nevada and becoming a wedding photographer. And he quickly rose up the ranks. He became probably the top wedding photographer in Las Vegas. It's kind of arguable, but he's definitely one of the top guys and he is just absolutely killing it there. And, we've had tons of conversations about different opportunities in different parts of the world because he's traveled all over the world. And, he told me that there's just so much opportunity right here in the US. But at the same time, he also told me there is a lot of opportunity for people who are from the US to move to other countries because a lot of those other countries are sort of adopting our way of living, our way of doing business. And so they really like to hire Americans and they like to just get as many United States people over there as possible. Now, the third thing you should consider is online. You don't necessarily have to move to these countries that you're considering doing this. And actually, this is a really good way to sort of sample the country before you fully move there. So you could maybe, get an online job working with people in this country or that country, or maybe you could start a YouTube channel where you're speaking in multiple different languages. I know several people who have done that where they've got like a Russian YouTube channel and a English YouTube channel and maybe like a Spanish YouTube channel. And, they're just speaking in multiple languages. And of course, you're not making as much money from the Russian and the Spanish channel, but in the future, maybe you will. Not as many people are watching now, but in the future, who knows what's going to happen? And it's probably also a lot easier to get subscribers because there's just not as much competition. And again, this is another thing my friend Sam did. He started a channel where he speaks in Arabic. And, again, probably not very much competition. And he makes great videos on there and he's just killing it. Business is getting more and more decentralized and international. And it's very important that, moving forward, you jump onto these opportunities and you can start doing business online and just sampling different places before you actually fully commit and move there. Before you go, make sure to check out these videos right here. I made them just for you. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the little notification bell, and then comment down below any ideas that you have on the video. Thank you so much and bye for now.